For years, people watched Danny Koker wear a bandana and assumed it meant something sinister. They said he was sick. They said he was dying. Some even said he'd vanished completely. The man doesn't look like the guy who dominated our TVs for 10 seasons anymore. And that quiet difference is exactly what set the internet on fire. Something changed on a Saturday night in June, inside a room he'd spent 16 years building. But the rumors are far more complicated than the truth. And honestly, the truth is a lot sadder. Let's start with the obvious thing, because most people fixate on it. Danny Koker lost a significant amount of weight. That's real. It's not hidden or some secret. He's addressed it himself, explaining it came from lifestyle changes and the sheer pressure of running multiple businesses at once. Filming a TV show, managing a custom shop, a rock club, a tattoo parlor, and touring with his band, all at the same time. That kind of pace wears anyone down. Then there's the head coverings people obsess over. The durag, the bandana, the black wrap. It became part of his signature look, right alongside the rings and sunglasses. Fans convinced themselves it had to mean something because he wore it so often, treating it like proof he was hiding the effects of treatment. The real reason is much simpler. He said outright it's to cover his hairline. A man in his 60s looks different than he did in his 40s. That's the whole story. Doctors have said for years that weight changes come from stress, diet, and aging, not internet conspiracy theories. But ordinary truth doesn't get clicks. A man aging naturally doesn't generate views. The algorithm buries him every 6 months under a new wave of lies, and the lies didn't stop at rumors. He's been declared dead multiple times, reported as incarcerated, given cancer diagnoses he never had, a stroke he never suffered, an autoimmune disease with zero evidence. One blog post in 2023 even claimed he served 30 days for drugs, with nothing to back it up. His face has shown up in fake ads for CBD oil and in AI-generated deepfake videos. Meanwhile, fans dissected old footage frame by frame. A slight limp, a pause in his speech, and built entire medical theories out of seconds of video. Here's how fast those stories fall apart. One fabricated story claimed Danny Koker got a life sentence on March 31, 2025. 2 days earlier, on March 29th, he was on stage at his own club, performing live for a packed crowd. Man serving life in prison doesn't headline a weekend show. Some of it got uglier. People used details about his family's health history to imply he was hiding some secret diagnosis of his own. None of that was ever tied to an actual confirmed illness. He's never disclosed one publicly, neither have his representatives. His health is his business, not a guessing game for strangers online. His wife wasn't spared either. Corey Koker survived a car accident years ago. She lived, but multiple outlets reported she had died. Later versions added a fake cancer diagnosis on top of that. All of it was false. She's alive. She has a background in broadcasting. And she ran entertainment and talent booking for their rock club until the summer of 2025. Even the people closest to him got dragged into it. Ryan Evans, the lead painter at Count's Customs, was accused online of stealing from the business. The 2025 interview, Koker shut that down directly, calling Evans family, someone he's known for 25 years and truly loves. Evans never left. He still runs the paint division. Here's the twist, though. Embezzlement did happen at Count's Customs, just not the way the internet told it. Joseph Frontiera was hired in 2013 to handle accounting. Court records allege he stole over $75,000, funneling it into personal spending, including plane tickets and a down payment on a Range Rover. He allegedly forged signature stamps copying both Koker and shop manager Kevin Mack, using them to sign company checks whenever the two men weren't around. On top of the theft, the company was hit with an $18,000 IRS penalty because taxes went unpaid. He was fired and it became a civil case. Koker broke no laws. He was the victim. But online, the story got completely flipped. Ryan Evans became the thief. Koker became the criminal. And people even claimed the FBI raided the shop. None of that happened. No raid, no arrest. No charges against Koker. The man who got robbed spent years being blamed for the crime. Then there's the Mustang lawsuit. In 2014, a Las Vegas couple sued Count's Customs over an unfinished restoration on a 1967 Ford Mustang, claiming $50,000 had been paid, and the car was never completed. It was a civil contract dispute. No criminal charges, no arrests, nobody went to prison. But for the next decade, people cited it as proof Koker was a criminal. As if a county court complaint slowly mutated into a felony conviction through repetition alone. Meanwhile, the real emotional loss in his career got almost no attention. Because a man quietly losing something doesn't trend the way a scandal does. Counting Cars premiered on History in 2012 as a spin-off of Pawn Stars, where Koker was already known as Rick Harrison's go-to car expert. Over 10 seasons and 184 episodes, it became one of the network's longest-running shows, pulling nearly 3 million viewers an episode at its peak. Then in December 2021, it just stopped. No farewell episode. No formal cancellation. It disappeared off the schedule mid-week while it was still pulling solid numbers. Ratings had naturally declined the way any long-running reality show experiences. Production costs for restoring rare cars were enormous, and running both a TV show and a real business had become unsustainable behind the scenes. After 184 episodes, there's only so many ways to film a man falling in love with a rusted-out Impala. But Count's customs never stopped being real. Long before cameras showed up and long after they left, it was a legitimate shop building real cars. Now, about that rock club. If you want to know why Danny Koker looks different, forget the medical rumors and look at June 28, 2025. Count's vamped rock bar and grill sat about 4.5 miles from the strip. A 6,000-square-foot venue with guitars in glass cases and a mural of Ozzy Osbourne on the wall. Danny and Corey had run it for 16 years. In mid-May 2025, they listed the building for $4.3 million. Danny told the Las Vegas Review-Journal, plainly, that running a rock club takes an enormous amount of time, and after 16 years, it felt like time for someone else to carry it forward. Corey later admitted the harder truth, that new business relationships hadn't worked out, and it was a genuinely difficult call to make, knowing it would disappoint people. They gave it a real send-off. Faster Pussycat, Night Ranger, Loverboy all played farewell shows through the spring. On June 28th, Koker's own band, Count 77, played the final night. Confetti fell at the door. Photographers caught Koker standing on stage in a visibly emotional moment. In the room he'd spent 16 years building. Musicians who'd played there for years, guys like Sebastian Bach and Todd Kearns, publicly called it the heart of the Vegas rock scene. By the end of that weekend, the doors were closed for good. A documentary on the club's 16-year run started streaming that November. After watching something like that, a man doesn't need to be sick to look older. Sometimes losing a room he loved is enough. So who is the real Count, and how did he end up here? Danny Koker was born in Cleveland, Ohio, in January 1964, raised in a musical, gospel-rooted family. In 1990, he put on a cape and became Count Cool Rider, a horror movie host, half Elvis impersonator, half Dracula, hosting late-night monster movies on Vegas television for roughly a decade. The long hair, bandana, leather, and sunglasses were part of that character from the start, and it happened to fit perfectly with the rock and biker culture he genuinely loved. He was inducted into the Horror Host Hall of Fame in 2016. The Count persona people know isn't a symptom of illness. It's a character he built in a TV studio 36 years ago and never stopped wearing. Count's Customs started small, a place for Danny and his father to work on cars for friends, before it grew into a real destination. Rick Harrison brought him onto Pawn Stars as the resident car expert, and that led straight to his own show. In one detail that sounds almost made up, Koker got ordained and personally performed Rick Harrison's wedding in 2013, and the crew people assumed had scattered. Ryan Evans still runs the paint division after 27 years. Kevin Mack still manages the shop, and he was the other man whose signature got forged in the embezzlement case. Shannon Eichow still builds custom motorcycles. Mike Henry, known as Horny Mike, still shows up at car events and even guested on Koker's podcast. Nobody vanished. Nobody was arrested. A group of guys who worked together on camera for years simply went back to running their business. So here's where Danny Koker actually is in 2026. Count's Customs is still open on South Highland. Drive. Still building cars, with a free public museum showing off his personal collection. Ryan Evans is still leading paint. Shannon Ichow is still building bikes. Koker still shows up at SEMA, still donates restored cars to charity, and in February 2025 stood beside Steven Tyler as a car he'd restored, sold for $300,000 at a charity auction. His band, Count 77, is still touring. His tattoo shop is still running at the Rio. His net worth is estimated between $13 and $15 million, which doesn't exactly match the image of a broken man. Then, on March 31, 2026, exactly 1 year after that fake life sentence story went viral, Koker launched Count's Culture, an unscripted talk show and podcast filmed in his own studio, covering cars, music, and counterculture. Early guests included Eddie Trunk, Randy Couture, and Bruce Kulick, and Rick Harrison publicly backed it. No network deciding the plot, no manufactured drama, just a man talking on his own terms. He's even said clearly that a Count's Customs television return is still being worked on. And through all of it, Danny Koker barely responded to any of it. No lawsuits against the people spreading lies, no press conference, no point-by-point rebuttal. Legally, that was probably the smart move. But it also left the door wide open for the fabrications to spread unchallenged for years, until enough people repeated them that strangers now swear, with total confidence, that he's dead, sick, or in prison. None of it is true. He's a 62-year-old man who said goodbye to a club he loved, lost a hit TV show, kept his business running, got robbed by his own bookkeeper, watched people slander his friends, and then built something new anyway.